explain to you as far as numbers go. However, we had 688 calls for service in October. If you look through the packet, it was by far the highest month for traffic crashes. We had a total of 14 motor vehicle crashes. Most of them were property damage only, but 3 of them were injury accidents. Kind of a high number for such a short period of time. Total for the year, 7,413 calls through October 31st. As far as calls for service, we did get Squad 1 back. It is back in service. I'm waiting on striping that was called in. They're doing the details for the side of the car, the driver's side of the car, so they'll be getting that done. On the agenda, Lexipol. Lexipol is a company that does policies for law enforcement. The reason I have chosen Lexipol with Scott is nowadays in law enforcement you hear a lot about accreditation, YLEA, which the sheriff's department does, different things like that. Unfortunately, we as a department would not qualify to be a certified department. Our facilities, even though you're building us a gorgeous new building, would not meet the standards to be an accredited law enforcement agency. So in order to get this agency as close to being accredited without being accredited would be to go with Lexipol. These new policies are vetted by attorneys that work for Lexipol. We are not the first agency in the state of Wisconsin. They are a nationwide company, and they are very specific with each state. And taking into account new changes that the courts put into place. So it's not just, here's your policy book, have at it. Every month, every day of every month, the officers will get a 2-minute training video that gives them a scenario based on our policies. They watch the scenario, they answer the questions, and so that's 2 minutes a day. That's an hour of training every month just simply on our policies. That's 12 months, that's 12 hours of training that every officer, including myself, we have to watch the videos, we have to take the test, and if you muck it up, they review, you have more than 2 minutes, you have to review what you got wrong in the policy so that it just doesn't check the box. So you as board members can rest well at night knowing that once this goes into place and in effect, that the officers understand the law and that they're able to properly apply it within policies and guidelines and standards for law enforcement. That it's not Alan making up a policy for pursuits, or Lieutenant Runge making up a policy for use of force, that these are standardized and backed by attorneys. So if we were to get sued, use of force incident, and they said your policy is messed up, and we're suing you based on your policy, they pay for the attorneys.
I just wanna note that we did budget for this in the 2024 budget, which was just approved. And the contract begins immediately once the chief signs it, and covers these 2 months, basically November and December for free, including this.
And Lieutenant Runge and I have also already had online meetings with the company to kind of push the ball forward a little bit.
This would be yearly.
Correct.
When the notes say the price is based on 6 full-time, 5 part-time.
Yes.
So 1 to 7 FTE, we increase, is there any change to this number based on what our plan is going forward?
when I gave them those numbers, I was thinking in the future for part-timers. So the number, the dollar amount shouldn't increase between 6 and 7, adding an officer has no effect, and I don't see us having more than 5 part-time officers. I mean, a Christmas miracle could happen, but I just don't see it.
Would it actually be every calendar day or just every work day?
Every calendar day,
So they're not here, or they're
every
gonna
day
come
you-
back and do 3?
Yep, and
after
they're,
the
like
weekend?
like I said, they're 2-minute scenarios, so it's not like the officer's gonna be sitting in the office watching videos for half an hour, that type of thing. They're meant to be super short. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to see what one of the videos kind of looks like, it's not exact. If you go to policeone.com, the owner of the company, or one of the founders, Gordon Graham, he has a 2-minute training video that is published on Police One, and he does that every week. Now you can watch it, you don't have to watch it, that type of thing, when it's through the Police One website. But for us, the officers have to watch it. The other thing with all this is I can go back and find out and audit who's been watching the videos, how far behind are they, and that type of thing. There's accountability that we can easily track for each officer. And like I said, with this day and age of accreditation and expecting more from law enforcement, I think this is just a giant step in the right direction of getting us as close to being an accredited department without actually having to pay for accreditation and that.
I did not look at the details of the contract. Jim, did you have it?
I did. There is a limit of liabilities, so they will not,
Only like 10,000, right?
it's the greater of 10,000 or what we paid in the 12 months preceding. So if our annual cost is 5,000, you know, 10,000 is the most.
So when you just referred to they would pay our, attorney fees, it would be
Up to
that
$10,000.
And actually, their attorney fees, because their attorneys would show up to defend their policy. As long as we don't make some weird, crazy edit.
Maybe the outsiders that would,
Well, my guess is if there was a breach or a claim that our department was negative, Lexapro would not even be a party to that lawsuit.
It only is specific if they are attacking the department's policy. It's very specific to attacking the department's policy, saying, you chase this car at 108 miles an hour, and your policy clearly says you shouldn't. They wouldn't come up and show up. But if we can show, no, we were in policy, we terminated the pursuit because it was a traffic-only violation, and we hit every one of those, showing that we were within our policy, and they're attacking the policy, saying this is a liberal policy, that's where they show up. But if they, like what you were talking about, you know, if there's something else, they're not attacking the policy, then we have all the stuff that you're here for, Mr. Mills.
And they have enough contact with 360 days.
Yep.
you know,
Chief, I'm concerned about the current department policies. Are you confident in them? Are you confident in the current training methodology that we're doing?
The current policies that we have, and I'll just, real quick, talking with the last meeting, we currently have 32 policies. That's it, 32. By them coming in with our size of agency, there's 127 policies. We are woefully short on some very specific things. And I'll be right up front, I went looking for an evidence policy. We don't have an evidence policy. There's no policy on our evidence room, there's no policy on how we package our evidence. There's no policy. And we are riding on borrowed time. We need to get strict policies in place they need to adhere to them, we need to train our officers to what our policies are and follow them.
Jim, how might something like Lexipol help in a court case?
Well, it'll show that the practice and procedure of the town of East Troy is to have policies in place to mitigate whatever the circumstances are of a stop. It'll help show that our department, workforce is trained. Yeah, I think this is a good thing.
Have you worked with anybody, any other municipality, police department that uses Lexipol?
I have not had any discussion regarding this
Do you
program.
have references, chief?
Yeah, City of Lake Geneva, Town of Geneva, Town of Delavan, there are several agencies in the county that are with Lexipol right now.
And just, like,
It's by
they're gonna update the policy, then what's the review? You're saying they have all these policies already,
Correct.
how do we review and implement them?
That would be up to Lieutenant Rungy and I to read the policies
Right.
and, make sure that we concur. And there's certain things that you can't change and, one of them, you can't, and they will never approve you to change a policy dealing with dignitaries from a foreign country. So, we're out on the interstate and we stop a car and he throws me the thing that he's a dignitary from whatever country. Have a great day, sir, be on your way. We have zero authority. You can't change that policy and to do that. One of the other policies, that is super important, and required by statute is a strip search policy. We don't currently have a strip search policy. We don't do strip searches because we don't have a jail. But even though we don't have a jail, we still have to have a policy that says we don't do strip searches. It's the little things like that that I'm starting to find that this fills in all those gaps. That I, as an individual, and Lieutenant Ruggie, we could sit down and go through and think about this and come up with, good policies, there's no doubt in my mind. But they do it for us, and they provide the training to us. 12 hours of training every year to the officers. 12 hours.
What would be the implementation time?
I'm pretty aggressive with this because the size of our agency and Scott and I put it on Scott and I that these should be, our goal is to start pushing them out by March 1st. If we get started right away, which, again, we've had 2 meetings with them. They are just waiting for us to say yay, and they're gonna start pushing us policies that we can start reviewing and approving.
I'd like to hear it be customized, so to speak,
Yes.
for our department, which is great, from 32 to 130 some. But my only other question is, and I think you answered it, or it is answered, but, cost is interest. Policies can cost money, right? And not that, unfortunately, implementing certain things, and as long as that's realistic, you know, and then something obviously to work forward to, 'cause,
Right.
I mean, a lot of things moving forward can start costing quite a bit. I would imagine if we're going from 32 to 132, there's probably a lot of things we don't have, or.
There is a lot of things we don't have, as far as costs from talking with them, as long as the citizens don't do something crazy like say, hey, we're hiring 10 cops, our cost should be relatively the same year in and year out, other than every business increases their rates. I would expect nothing, but when you start getting into, larger agencies, then you start adding more divisions, so, like the sheriff's office, there's the patrol division, there's the investigation division, there's the drug unit, there's the central records. They need a lot more policies than we do, and so that's why we're only at 127 to 133, policies.
All right, any last questions from the board?
Well, I was thinking you were then saying, because of these policies, we may have to invest in different.
I think that's being taken care of, in all honesty, with the new building that the citizens approved last year, because our evidence room is gonna be up to date, state of the art. Our evidence lockers are gonna be up to date and state of the art.
Right.
So the new structure that is going up is going to, I'm not gonna be coming back here going,
We need this.
we need this, and we need
Based on
that.
this policy.
And that's,
Right.
that's what I was asking,
And-
like, just so
Yeah.
we're all mindful of, you know,
Right.
community
And
and
that's,
experiencing those.
that's why I say that we can, I don't ever foresee us being an accredited agency. For the simple fact that the cost to the citizens to have a facility that meets all the accreditation requirements, I mean, realistically, you're looking at about a $2 million building, and that's just not feasible. So this gets us, like I said, as close to being accredited, because a lot of agencies that are Wiley Ag accredited in Wisconsin have Lexipol as their policies. And so this gets us as close to that accreditation bill as we can get without actually becoming accredited.
Alright, motion please.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion for, chief to move forward with Lexipol.
Second.
Annual law enforcement policies, annual daily training bulletins for 12 months, price of $4,736.70.
Alright, so,
Second.
Chad, Barb, second, discussion,
That means we're authorizing him to sign the agreement?
Yes, and it renews automatically unless within 60 days prior to the expiration date, you let them know you don't want to continue.
Jim,
So
thanks
should-
for your input, because that was really valuable.
and the contract does call for the chief to sign it, so the motion should include authorizing the chief to sign the contract. Master Service.
Right, so yeah, chief move forward with, I guess, the chief to sign, and should we put, are you saying we should maybe put in that, and to look at 90 days before to just double check everything's going good, would that be something?
Well, we can do that as,
Yeah.
we can do that as a board anytime we want. Just have to
As
say-
long as it's before 60 days.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm good at
write
forgetting.
that in your.
I know, could you put that in the police calendar?
Yeah,
Revisit
Yeah.
Just to
this
revisit it before
every
that.
year.
Okay, any further discussion? On the motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carries. Anything else, chief? Good?
I have a clarifying question, policeone.com, policeone, O-N-E, or?
Oh, and
Thank you.
thanks.
All right,